بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما تعلمنا وزدنا بفضلك علما وتعليما إنك على كل شيء قدير. In this series of lectures, I've been talking about Islamic pluralism and Islamic orthodoxy and orthopraxy. One of the multiple and multifaceted misconceptions about madhhabs is that they imply i'arat al-uqul, they imply the lending of one's brain to somebody else, the lack of thought, that you just copy and paste. And I want to talk about this a little bit. Let's look at a 3rd century scholar, Ibn Qutayba ad-Daynawri. He was a literary specialist, gatherer and commentator of poetry, specialist of Arabic of theology, of fiqh, of hadith, of an amazing thinker, a polymath. One of his many books, was a contribution to the field of gharib al-hadith, difficult vocabulary used in hadith, and it's called Islah Ghalat Abi Ubaid, right? The correction of the errors found by the great scholar Abu Ubaid, who had certain opinions about certain tricky words in hadith, and Ibn Qutayba disagreed with some of these points. And so in the beginning of his book, he just introduces the idea of what he's doing, and he wants to make sure about the methodology. And so when we read the introduction to his book, the book is, or the introduction at least, overflows with this concept that we see in the 1st and 2nd and 3rd century among Muslims and Muslim thinkers of the freedom of thought, and that the arguments are academic and not ad hominem, meaning you're not right because you're so-and-so, you're right because you can prove it. And there's no such thing as taqaleed, there's no such thing as just following somebody because they're so-and-so, but rather you follow them because it's right. So this is a really interesting thing. We see that the criticisms, he's saying, when I'm engaging in these criticisms of this other scholar who comes before me, I'm not just saying he's right because he comes before me, but rather I am doing him a service by correcting him. So he begins and he says, every scholar's view, the views of anybody, they're up for debate and discussion, right? Nobody is right because they are the right. Look at Imam Shafi, for example, who was a bit before him. Imam Shafi, for example, refuted opinions of a Thawri, like Sufyan al-Thawri, even though he's before him, and of the Kufans, and even opinions of his own teacher, Malik ibn Anas. So he didn't just say, well, he's right because he's Imam Malik. He said, it doesn't make sense, so I'm going to refute it. Abu Ubaid, the person who I'm rebutting right now, adopted certain opinions of the Salaf and rejected others, demonstrating their errors with clear evidence. He didn't just say, because they're before me, I can't say anything. He critiqued his predecessors. Scholars of Arabic debated with each other, not just in fiqh, in Arabic as well, in Arabic grammar and morphology, etc., and exposed mistakes in others' opinions. It happened. Look, for example, Al-Farra, the great grammarian, he disagreed with his own teacher Al-Kisa'i, even though Kisa'i is Kisa'i. He disagreed with him. He continues, he said, we have never heard of Allah, mighty majestic, ever making any mortal human infallible or immune to error. Nor have we heard of him favoring a particular group of people with knowledge over another. There's no such thing as tahazzub, right? I'm part of this group, of that group. That doesn't exist. Nor has he made one particular era in history a time of knowledge and not another. Oh, because so-and-so is from that era, you got to follow him, but because he's from later on, you don't follow him. Rather, he has made knowledge something shared among his slaves. The lesser correcting the greater, and the later reviving the knowledge by critiquing the words of the earlier. It's a symphony. It's a cooperation. And there's no taqleed, there's no blindly following anybody. And he has made it incumbent upon those who know something to state it and promote it. So look at the freedom of thought of Ibn Qutayba, this 3rd century scholar, who's not Shafi, he's not Maliki, he's not Hanbali, he's not this. Look how amazing he is. How he promotes academic and not ad hominem arguments. He's not saying this is right because it's Hanafi, this is right because it's Maliki. It's right because it has a proof. Look how criticism is welcome and taqleed is not. So here's the question that really kind of needs to be answered is, in the 1st and 3rd centuries, as we've demonstrated in previous lectures, there's this critical legal thought, there's this ijtihad, right? The 1st and 3rd centuries, they created the form of madhhab. Why is it then that the 4th centuries on, every scholar that we find, just every scholar basically, every single scholar is either Maliki or Shafi or Hanbali or Hanafi? Like, what happened? Why did every single person, what happened to every single scholar? Why did they just do taqleed? Why did they just follow a school or a madhhab? Right? Why, in other words, why did the Ummah stop thinking after the 4th century? Why did that happen? Even his son, Ibn Qutayba, we look at his son. He was a narrator of his works and kind of continued his knowledge and his legacy. But for some random reason, he threw in the towel and became Maliki. Why did his son not follow his father in this same way of thinking? Like, what happened? What curse overcame the Ummah? What on earth went wrong? Right? Some of you who may know me and know my tone will understand that there is a devil's advocate in my tone. Because in reality, every single thing that I've just said is a total misconception. In reality, there is a misreading of Islamic civilization here, a gross misleading of Islamic civilization. And in reality, there is a total misunderstanding of the very essence of what a madhhab is. And those of you who have been following the previous lectures and the coming lectures, inshallah ta'ala, will understand that. But I just wanted to point this out as a teaser, inshallah, to think about it. So let's think, do I really understand what the essence of a madhhab is? Is it possible that we could join between these two things, taqleed and tamadhhab? Could we join between following a madhhab, ijtihad and tamadhhab? Could we join between the two opposites of being a free thinker and yet at the same time be systematic in the way that we think? There's an interesting discussion to have. But this is one of the many, many misconceptions we have about the form of madhhab, and inshallah stay tuned for more explanation. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.